Lenses are expensive, and sometimes we just don't have the money that we need to actually invest in the equipment that we really want. And this is where software comes in. Lumizar NEO actually has a feature called Portrait Bokeh AI. So if you're a portrait photographer, this is going to be something that you really want to dive into and understand a little bit more. I'll be the first to admit this isn't the perfect solution, but it is a good one if you're looking for something that allows you to really blow out those backgrounds and all you have is a kit lens. Let's go ahead and dive into the computer and take a look at how this tool works. So here we are inside the computer, and I just want to show you the lens that we're using, and it's the Canon 24 to 105 f4 lens. Now this is by no means a cheap lens, but it is what's considered to be a kit lens, and it's not a fast aperture because the fastest that I can go is f4. Now this is going to work for anyone who's using a 5.6 aperture or even an f8 aperture as well because of the way that the software works. Now I am running this particular image through On1 and then into Lumizar NEO as a plugin. So let's jump over to Lumizar. To actually add this effect to your image, all you're going to do is scroll down on the right hand side here until you get to this section that says portrait. And then the very first one is Portrait Bokeh AI. By clicking it once, and then I'll just recenter this, we'll go ahead and rotate this out. And I like to start at about 50%, give or take. This is showing me what half strength of this plugin looks like. Now, the key with this particular plugin, you have to be patient and you also want to be subtle. The results here look great right out of the box. I really do enjoy this. And I can take a look at the before and after by holding the backslash key, which is over the return key, or enter key, depending on what kind of keyboard you have. So this is without the Portrait Bokeh AI. And this is with Portrait Bokeh AI. Now we have a few options here that we can modify. The first one is setting where the focus is happening. As you can see here, and let me zoom in for you. We'll zoom into about 200%, hold down the space bar and rotate this over. So as you can see, Portrait Bokeh AI didn't actually select this area of my daughter's coat. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint over this, and it's going to select those areas. And now it's focusing on those areas because I have focus selected over here in the right-hand panel. Now, if I wanted to defocus a particular area, all I have to do is click on defocus and then find the area where I don't want this effect to apply. Now, I gotta be honest, Lumizar did a really good job at finding this, finding my daughter, and maybe in between the hair, maybe I don't want that area. So by using the bracket keys, I made my brush a little bit smaller, but I want to make note that I'm using a softness of 100 and a strength of 100. And I'm just going to paint right in between her hair here. I wouldn't actually care to do this, and I probably need an even smaller brush size. So let me go ahead and go back to focus, and I'm just going to leave this alone. But if you had to retouch your particular mask on your image, just know that you can do that. And then as soon as you move your mouse back over to the panel, the overlay goes away. Now, I'll be honest, I don't fully understand what restore does because when I use this effect, I usually use focus or defocus and it works out perfectly fine. If you're finding value in today's content, hit the like and subscribe button. It helps YouTube know that this is a good video, plus it's completely free. Now, underneath background, however, this is where you really get to make a decision on how this background is going to look in your image. What you would want to do is maybe lower the brightness of the background, and I can do this just a little bit and I think it'll turn out to be pretty good. So now it separates my daughter from the background just a little bit more. This is similar to the Relight AI option that's inside of Lumizar NEO, but Portrait Bokeh AI, it really does help with enhancing the bokeh effect or the blurriness in the background. And I'm not going to worry about highlight glows, but maybe I want to warm it up just a little bit more. Now, I did get good white balance in camera, but depending on what your image looks like, you may want to modify the background or the white balance of your image. I'm going to go ahead and reset this and leave that as is because I actually enjoy the way that this photo looks. Now, you can also do your depth correction, and this is one of those areas that I would play around with. This photo, again, doesn't really need the depth correction because she was standing pretty far away from the main focal point in the background, and that helps out with the photo overall. And then, of course, we have edge correction, and the edge correction is really around her, but I think that Luminar did a really good job at finding her. So you can modify this by pulling down, and this is going to put more of like that blur on the edge to really blend the effect in. So that could be desirable, or you can get really crazy and pull this up to 100%, and it starts to chop off segments of the main focus area. I prefer, on this image at least, for this to be lower, and maybe even 20 was too much. So I'll go down to 14 because I want this to blend naturally, and I don't want it to look really computerized. Now, remember, I have the amount set to 50. So if I really wanted to crank this up, I could crank it up to 100%. I don't think that 100% looks really good. It just looks like I cut her out and slapped her on this blurry background. It doesn't look natural. So for me, what I prefer is a more natural look, and I think somewhere around 28 is probably going to be where I rest my case. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit apply, and Luminar is going to think itself through, and then it renders this back inside of on one as its own layer, and I can modify the photo even further. So will you be using Portrait Bokeh AI? Let me know in the comment section below. We're barely scratching the surface with what you can do with photo editing. If you want to learn more, consider subscribing because I post videos about how you can edit photos in an artistic way and also in a practical way. If you like this video, then I think you'll enjoy the video that's on the screen now. And until the next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.